Hi, everybody. This is a poker coaching study session with hands face up from the passenger seat of my car. All right. You don't need to see me anymore. That was exciting. So what we're looking at is we're looking at a series of very big hands. These are pots that ended up very big, and we will see why. This is probably going to be, guys, and I'm in it. This is not going to end well. All right. So what should happen? Fold, raise, fold, fold, fold. Ace five suited could three bet. Ace five suited could call. Ace five suited down the button is never folding to a single bet, right? We're playing that 100% of the time. And
Yeah.
let's see what happens. All right. So there's the raise. It's a normal size raise. I just call. That's got to be in range. I don't think that ace five suited is 100% raise on the button, is it? I don't know my
Not
button rate.
100% in Wizard, I don't think. I think it
Okay.
will have some calls. I personally lump it into the 100% version.
Makes total sense. For me, this particular combo would be one of my calling combos rather than my raising combos. So if there's even a sliver of calling, I would call the five of clubs, ace of clubs version. So maybe that's why I did it, or maybe I just didn't know. All right. These two guys should fold. But because the 4-8 of it calls, that's why this pot got so big. I think this may end well for me. All right. Unless it's 5, 6, 7 of clubs. Oh, I have the 5 of clubs. I blocked my death. Great. All right. That's why it's going to end badly. So then, oh, the 4-8. There we go. I'm out of this. I'm safe. Uh, so we're in a standard three-way pot, easily examined. This is an early position raise, a button call, and a big blind comes along. So what we learned from the DTO wizard is this 4-8 is 100% check. Here, he has no bets out in this, according to the DTO tool. Later, we'll find out what Prometheus says. And he does check. The nines can check behind a board like this, or they can bet it. They can just mix, and we'll just see what his mood is. I expect he's going to bet because of the two diamonds, and most people don't like to give free cards to flush draws. And he does. He bets. I get out of the way. And the 4-8 now should be check raising because he unblocks the 9. Unfortunately, he also unblocks pocket nines. He check raises. Great. So now my question is this for the nines. We've got the nuts right now. We have a hammerlock on this hand. Should you be three betting this guy, or should you be calling since you're in position to keep him in? Anybody?
I think generally with a hand that has this much equity, you usually flat. And also, let's look at the size of
Yeah.
this three bet of this
Mhm.
check raise. It's what is
Huge.
this? 3, 12, 4. It's a 5x, 6x
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with a hand this much equity, you know that you're going to get it in, uh, and you can't be afraid of any more diamonds. You just need to call.
Yep. I mean, before I go to the next step, I'm going to Wi-Fi to another because it looks like this Wi-Fi is very weak. So I may cut out for 10 seconds.
Okay.
There we go. As I switch. Work out great for him. Let's see. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay, good. I went there. So I think he's doing this not because he has the best hand and wants to get called. I think he's doing this to knock a flush draw or a straight draw away. I think he doesn't want to lose the pot. I think he expects to get a fold now, but if he's up against pocket fours or pocket eights, he gets called. Since 8-4 is not really in anybody's range. Um, and it's going to work great for him, but I think do we want to charge flush draws and straight draws? Do we want to knock them out of the pot?
No.
Yeah, that
Uh,
seems like
I don't know, like, hey guys, I just got here, kind of lost my voice. Hey, I think the any tips on getting my voice back would be greatly appreciated after this.
slippery
Stop
slippery
talking.
elm lozenges. And this comes from a professional speaker. Slippery elm lozenges. They're available in CVS and Walgreens. And maybe they'll sponsor this YouTube episode. Okay.
Thank
Anyway, but he
you.
gets called.
Thank
So
Yeah,
what do you
we could shove if we want to. I mean, because I think his race side is saying that he's not folding. and we could have a flush draw here. So
Okay. Gotcha. So his huge raise size says that we're going to get called. So might as well just do it all at once. Is that the common thinking? That seems to be Skate's argument.
Um, I would tend towards flush draw. I mean, I would tend towards call just because if any component of his range is bluffs, I would tend towards a flush, just calling.
Okay. Um,
Well,
so one
you
of the
have to look at in reverse too. People say, yeah, I want to charge a flush draw, but if he had a flush draw, he's already charging himself
yeah,
too much for the flush draw.
right,
So you've already successfully accomplished that. He's paying a lot to see the turn to see if his flush hits.
right. So the the argument for just calling here is keep any bluffs that he has in. I can think of two arguments for the raise. I don't know that it has to be a jam, but I can think of two good arguments. One is this is Skate's argument. He's strong enough. He's going. The other is if the flush comes in and he's not on the flush draw, we may not get all the money in. We may not stack pocket eights or pocket fours if the next card is the 10 of diamonds.
right.
And so
Yeah, but do we want to stack? Do we want to try to stack somebody if the next card is a 10 of diamonds?
once it's there, no, that neither of us wants to get it all in. So that's what I'm saying is that
Right.
is
Yeah.
that seems to be an argument now for if he puts all his money in with a flush draw, great. If he folds a flush draw, not the worst thing in the world. And if he has pocket eights or pocket fours, we get it all. It gets all in when it may not.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with Scotty's argument. We
Yeah.
should get it in now because we essentially have the nuts, the top set. The straight is not available. So we are essentially gonna cooler lower sets and 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 we have more equity against the draws, right, with top set. So, like you said, if a diamond hits on the turn, it's gonna kill the action and we won't get more chips.
Right. And now
Are we
let's take,
curious what the solver would do here?
I
Okay.
think the solver just calls.
Should we take a look?
we don't have it's three-way. We don't have a solve.
Well,
For this.
how does
Yeah,
it go
it's
three-way?
three-way to begin with, but I mean,
But it
we
still
could,
works. It still works.
Did it
it's
go
up
to
to
the
you guys.
flop two ways?
Yeah. Three people saw the flop and I folded on to the one bet on the flop. This is your flop action. Check, bet, fold, raise. So yeah, to stick it in the solver, we'll take a look. And then here's the last thing I want to think about for ourselves, which is if we just call, I want to look at the size of the pot. Size of the pot will be 3240. So it'll be an SPR of 2, and we're in position. It should not be hard to get all in with an SPR of 2 by the river in position, right? So the
Right.
call is fine. We only have that little edge of what happens with the flush coming in. That could be good, could be bad for us. He does it. He gets called. He wins. That's a big pot. All right. Larry, yell when you're ready to take a look at that in solver, and then we'll go on.
We can look. I'll
Okay.
share,
All right, let's take a look at it.
and then we can move on. Okay. So I had to make this 5
Frosty.
because 9, obviously, 8-4 is not in range.
Yeah.
So, even though it brings in a flops SD, big blind check. So what kind of size do you use on flop?
He bet small. He bet a third.
Underground, but it's thirds. Let's see what the highest check raise we can get away with is.
Right. The interesting thing here, though, is there's no 2 pair available on this board, and there is a straight. So this is going to be a very different solve. Go on with it.
He does
look.
have 8-5. Big blind does have a
Oh, he does. He has a
low
sliver.
frequency 8-5
And
seated.
Okay,
he
that's
should
good.
have 9-8 at some frequency.
He should, but our
Although it's
nines
reduced
block the
because we
9/8
have
so
9.
hard. Our nines block the 9/8 that the solver is going to discount that, and there is a 6/7 available. But let's move forward anyway.
Yeah, we're just not interested in raising here.
Okay.
Facing, I mean, we he's got bluffs right here.
Yeah.
That he's raising with, and we're just not interested in folding out bluffs when we have this
Okay.
much equity.
Great. That works. Okay. And good for him for his non-solver proved exploitative play, seeing that the guy that his big bet was so big that it wasn't going to be a bluff into two people. It wasn't going to be a bluff into one person.
And
All right.
Larry, change
Yep.
that 5 to a 4. I know that it's not in range for the big blind, but I just wanted to see if changing the 5 to a 4 that takes the straights out of the equation gives him any more
Yeah.
frequency of raising.
Good
Sure.
idea. Good idea.
Typically, after a large raise, we don't have many 3-bets.
No,
Yeah,
hardly at all.
Yeah, we don't really care. We're just when we face this big
But now we
Especially-
have a sliver. Now we do have a sliver of 9s and 8s that do it, but it's the unusual.
But
move.
they don't go
Yeah.
all in. They just
They don't
raise,
go all in.
they raise small.
Without a flush draw, way more.
a little bit more.
Changes
Because
a lot.
that puts more value in his raise.
Right. And go back to the flush draw version. And let's look at one thing before we look at it. We're doing a sliver of raising with our sets of 9s and 8s. My question is, are those with or without the 9, with or without the, oh no, we can't have, never mind. We never have it. Done. I have no questions. Moving on.
But you can see here, shoving is never an option.
Not a shove.
And when the little bits it does raise, it's just a little more than a click back.
Yeah. He got very lucky the guy had that hand and the guy played it that way. All right. Fold, raise,
You're
fold.
not sharing.
Oh, well, I'm folding anyway, so it doesn't matter. All right. Here we go. Thank you. All right. So this should go fold, raise. The 5-4 suited should do mostly folding here. The
I
GTO
3-bet it.
stuff has a complete fold. You're going to
I
raise it.
3-bet it.
Yep, you're going to 3-bet it. The 3s are mostly folding GTO, but they can call. They have probably a sliver of raise. Might have a sliver of raises. I think they're just mostly folding, and everybody else should fold. But that is not what's going to happen in this hand. Let's look at those assumptions really quick. This is
Do you
hijack.
have do you have any filter set for your hands today?
Yes, giant hands. These are all giant pots. That's all they are.
Oh, okay.
We are looking at giant pots.
Yeah, we were looking at them last week, and most
I
of
know.
them turned out to be poorly played to get the big
That's, I think, one of the things we may discover. That's interestingly enough. Let me hide my screen as I sign in just real quick to the wizard.
Sorry, guys, my internet dropped out.
Oh, it doesn't show it. Okay, good. Why am I? This wizard is asking me to log in again. Okay, I guess
I
do it
had
this way.
that today with Wizard too.
Yeah, maybe it just went through a new start.
Yeah, it completely logged everything out of mine.
Yeah, that's what it did. Okay, I'm in. Let's go back to sharing now. Share screen, share everything. Here's the wizard. Quick study. Initial raise was the hijack. So when the hijack raises, we're going to go to 9-handed NL50. Stack 100. Bet size. Rake is NL50. Oh, it may have some new things here now. There may be some new things. But anyway, here's the hijack raising. The cutoff has no calls in GTO Wizard. The 4-5 is in there. Yep, this is late enough. Against an earlier position, it doesn't like the 4-5 early. Oh no, it's
I think
happy.
it's in there. I think it's
No, it's in there everywhere.
At least as a sliver against everybody.
It's against everybody. You're right. It is. Okay. That's good to know. That these are again, everybody has these except for the small blind. The small blind doesn't. Come on. Come on, small blind. The small blind does. All right. Moving on. I'm completely wrong. So there we go. Hijack's here. He does his raise. The cutoff doesn't call these hands, but it does some raising. He probably will. And the button, when it gets there, this is not how it's going to get there with his threes. Does a little bit of calling. There's no raising these small pairs.
Yeah,
That's
no.
that's good too. All right. There we go. Good. So what actually happens is he limps.
I knew it.
Yep. After this limp, the 5-4 suited should never fold. He should raise and he should also limp behind. Both are happy. Just on his both. There are great arguments for both. He goes for the raise.
I prefer raising and isolating.
Yep.
You get to isolate a fish, take control of the pot, and possibly buy the button.
Every one of those words is correct. And so are the words, you get to see a flop in position or at least in, not too far away from position with a hand that flops really well. Both those arguments are good. He goes for the raise. His raise is a tiny bit small, should be 4.5. And especially, yeah, four's good, but this hand really wants the folds. So I'd go the full 4.5. And the threes come along.
Well,
this is bad. He's not closing the action here. This is different than just calling a raise with this guy in there, I think. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Given that the threes have some straight up calls of the cutoff, and given if the hijack raised and the cutoff flatted in something that GTO Wizard doesn't allow, but higher in a different rake structure it does, the threes can call, right? Threes can be the third person in the pot on the button happily, right? To set mine.
I kind of, my first thought was just like, I kind of don't mind it. I would just like to be deeper stacked so I could get more of Villain Nine's money.
I'd like to be deeper stacked because it meant that I won a hand.
It's 100.
Yeah, but
I actually won't.
It's fine.
I'm not going to really fault calling
Yeah.
or folding. I think both are reasonable options.
I'm going to change my mind on this. I now think that this call is just fine. Because the only thing he has to worry about, being raised by the two blinds, but you always have to worry about that. So he's got one other player, the Jack King here. And how often is this guy limp re-raising this late? It's not like it's an early position place where the tricky limp is common. Yeah, I like it.
Almost never.
Yeah, I like this. And now the counter argument is normally this call is to 2.5 and now you're calling 4. And so that's a thing. I've argued myself out of it. I like to fold better, but I don't hate this. Well, that just happened. All right. The money is going in. Let's see who gets lucky or unlucky.
Well, it should check to the button.
Yeah, it should check to the button. Check, but he bets and he bets large.
Well, he has open-ended. Yeah, that's not...
Oh, go on, Joey.
That's not theory.
No, it's too big a bet. 3-way.
Well, what was the pot before he bet?
Pot was
13.5.
The pot was 13.5.
Now half pot is not bad. Jonathan in his advanced cash game gave the range of 20% to 60%.
Okay. So we were just taking, so our simplification on DTO was didn't have enough subtlety. All right. I think the threes here on a board that is this dry, this is a pretty dry board. I think that he can just call. I don't think he has to raise here. I think he raised the turn.
I think you call in position here.
I think theories just call because you still have King Jack. You still have Villain 8 in the hand.
Yeah, and he has so little equity there. And sometimes you're beat. And you're going to lose a lot of money. That's it. So he does that. He tries to keep Villain 8 in. Villain 8 with his backdoor flush draw and a wrap is not enough. Is not enough 3-way, right? Out of position.
I think when you have a contested pot, this is this hand is trash.
That's enough against small bet.
Can make it 18-ish or that. I think it's either raise or fold.
Well, you're wrong.
I had a very similar hand on the weekend.
Yeah.
I think
This
I
is a really
may
good
have made it
fold.
wrong.
All right, there we go. Goodbye threes. He bets small into it now with
Now,
completion.
we saw with DTO, even if it goes to the three ways to the turn, they polarize the range.
They polarize the range.
So the sizing should be larger here.
Yeah. The DTO sizing is larger. The other heuristic that points towards betting smaller here is equity completed. And equity completed pushes down the size of our bets. This is the time that we had it. Now, can he get all in with this size? That's the real question. Against 90, the pot's going to be, assuming he gets one call, 20, 50. So the pot's going to be 50 against people who have 80. This is too small. He should be going 2E here.
Which should be somewhere around 30.
Right.
Maybe
Okay.
maybe 25-ish.
Let's see. 25 puts in 80 in the pot and brings his stack down to 65. 65. So 25 is too small because we're going under pot and then over pot. So yeah, I think it's just pot, right?
Well, no, 25 puts 82 in the pot and he's going to have 60.
Oh, you're right. You're right. I'm an idiot. Yes, I did math wrong. Yeah, he's got 80 left, 60, 25 is great, but 10 is too small. And now comes the raise. Jack King gets out of the way. And out of position, I guess you just jam.
Yeah, out of position, you jam. Plus, villain is pot committed.
Yeah. You jam now
Yep.
or you jam or you jam or you call and then you jam the river. But why is it better to jam the river than jam
It's
now?
not. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, if he has like 8-9, I think he would have. Yeah, he would have odds to call. So
yeah, we want to jam now.
we want to jam now.
Here it goes. And he pairs up.
Boom.
Hooray. That was
Wow.
Here's an all-in game that I don't think they made any particular mistakes. That seemed pretty good. The Jack
But-
King call, I mean, they made some
Yeah.
size things that weren't optimal, but nobody played that dumb. They just that was
Yeah.
a legitimate cooler.
Except King Jack.
Yeah, King Jack lost 6 big blinds he shouldn't have. And he shouldn't have limped initially and things like that. But it was not egregious. Not like some of the things we've seen. That
Yeah.
was cooler. Okay. Ace 9 should raise. Deuce should fold, but I expect a call. And then it should fold around. And once deuce calls, that should not bring in 7-10. I bet it will.
Good luck, hero.
There we go. It's not going to end. If the pot's big, it's not going to end well for me. I'm going to be losing a lot of money to a set of deuces is what's about to happen.
Who's saying
So-
you're losing a lot of money? Maybe it's somebody else losing a ton.
I hope so.
Because I could see this going 4 ways.
There's your deuces.
Can I ask
Oh,
a question?
7's got out of the way. Now, 8-10
Um,
should be folding here every time. This is
So,
Yes.
so
and
we
I-
told-
Derek, your mic is really low. We
oh,
can
okay.
barely
I'm
hear
gonna
you.
turn it up. Okay.
Oh yeah,
How's
now
that sound? Is that better?
it's too loud. It was halfway
So
between.
that,
Okay. How's that?
That's perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
Like in the games that I play in, like as I said before, like I'm trying to set mine as get people to stack off their stack.
Uh-huh.
So this but if you move up in stakes, do you find that people don't stack off their stack, so you don't set mine with 2s? Is that the thinking?
No, the thinking is that's part of it, but the other thing is you get squeezed more.
Okay.
People see your call, your attempt to set mine as exactly what it is, and they go, if I can raise enough to get by this first idiot, he plays tight weak. The pot's mine, so you get a lot of that.
Okay.
Because one of the things we've seen in GTO, a limitation is, at least in GTO Wizard, is if it goes raise, call, and another call, nobody back here except for the big blind has a calling range. They all are now 3-bet big or fold. And so they're just really incentivized to squeeze you out. But if you're not getting squeezed enough, you can get away with this.
Okay, what
And let's,
stakes do you find that this sort of play happens at? Because I find that, like, on the live 1-3 game that I'm playing, it's just a calling fest. So there's like
Right.
7 players.
Live 3 is worse than online 1 cent, 2 cent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at what point do I disavow my set mining with twos strategy?
when it's not a stakes thing. It's an individual table thing. When you're at a table where people are not three betting near enough, you can jump in and do it. When they're three betting enough, then you got to be more careful.
Mm.
Or
Like, I think people
also,
are free betting with aces and kings and queens.
Yeah.
yeah,
It-
but
it-
also even in weak games, that doesn't guarantee they're going to pay you off.
That's true.
You have to take in the opponents into consideration. Because first of all, if they're raising, they are probably a little bit more tagged than the typical loose passive you see that's just going to limp in most of the range. And tag players don't usually get stacked with one pair, even in the weaker games.
Mhm.
Right. And now here's a GTO answer for you that I just looked up as soon as this airplane flies over. So what I've done is I've pushed the stack sizes up big enough to start to give a calling range to the hijack and the cutoff. And you'll notice you've got this set mining going on here, but boy, down at these low ones, it really doesn't love it. It's really a sliver down here because of the fear of set over set also.
Oh, okay.
So this is
I played a really, really deep stack hand with twos on the
right. Let's get
weekend.
deeper.
Like, we were like, I had like 2100 on
Right.
a 1-3 table, so that's like what, 700 big blind.
Yeah.
So, I like, it's been bugging me. I don't know if I played it right.
Right.
I
So
suspect that may be too deep to set mine with small pairs.
Oh,
because
so
now the set over set
the
is
reverse,
yeah.
the reverse,
Reverse and
pot
implied
odds
odds.
comes back to bite me.
Yes.
I just misplayed the hell out of a hand, which was set over set over set.
And,
That I
and
should
to
have
be,
folded and I just didn't.
Derek, to be quite honest, I don't think your money in that game is going to be made by playing small pairs set mining, because 88% of the time you just whip and you have a check fold.
Right.
The 12% of the time you hit, of that, 60% of the time your opponent has completely whiffed.
Right.
Of the 40% of the time he hasn't completely whiffed, only 10% will he give you his whole stack.
So we're talking
So
like 2-3%.
yeah, we're
I'm
talking
stacking
like,
people 3% of the time.
yeah, we're talking like it really happens on such a small scale that I think if you just fold them, you're not going to lose much, but you don't also have the potential, or you're not losing much by what you're giving up and winning, but when you play it, you have the potential to make an error and lose more than you should have.
Okay.
Right. And now looking, here's the deepest one that I had access to. It's 200. It's six-handed rather than more. So our hijack, they're still pretty slivery, these small pairs, but they're there. Move into the cutoff, they start getting robust, and on the button, they're going to be
Yeah, on the button is
they're going to be almost 100%. Yeah. So there's your answer. And after the call, oh wait, I'm sorry, this was the cutoff after a call. So the hijack folds. So now the cutoff as the first person, still pretty small there. Button. Yeah.
and when you see mixed, to me, when I see mixed ratios, even with the button, I really do it based on a read. Um, and that read is not always, am I going to stack him if I hit my set? Sometimes that read might be that he plays ABC after the flop, and I can steal this from him. But for me to actually go with a small pair, I need something in a read to say this is the right person to play this hand against.
So you're saying that in this particular case, this is a perfect person to play the hand against. Gotcha.
Yeah, if I had reads on actually like your stats would not, like if I had a HUD on you and didn't know exactly who you were, your stats when we usually have HUD settings up do not look like somebody I would typically target.
Yeah.
I would probably just, all right, he raised this time, I'll let him go.
Okay. There we go. So the deuces go in there and the 8 deuce comes along, like the 8 10 8 comes along. We all know this is a bad idea, but somebody here tell the new people why this is a bad, bad, bad idea.
Because you're supposed to be, all right, the common thinking, which has been wrong, is that I now have better pot odds with my 10-8. But in reality, that the solvers are showing us is that we have to be tighter once it's three-way as opposed to if we were just calling versus the hijack.
Yep. And if you learn only that one thing from this session, because this comes up every single session, we look at all cards, we see people making this mistake all the time. If you learn any one thing, medium offsuit cards in the big blind getting good odds in a multi-way pot are terrible. All right. But in this case, at least he's not dominated. It's not as bad as it could be. And we go to the flop. There's the straight draw. There's the top pair. There's the set. How much do I lose? Let's see if I remember Joey's admonition. Don't lose a lot of money with one pair in a contested pot multi-way. Problem is, I have a backdoor flush, so I'll be losing some. This is also before, let's see. So he just bets right out. This person is happy. I can't fold top pair to a single bet, to a single donk here. I got to call.
Do not raise.
Well, that would be smart. Not raising would have been good.
Never.
But I'm going to get my answer there.
Oh, he's just clicking it back.
He's clicking it back. This should get me out of here. But it's so cheap. I go, let me see if I can pick up a flush draw on the next card. So I lose at least that much. There is my second mistake. And now I can get out of here. Come on, get out of here. All right.
Well, at least that was a lot of people won't fold top pair yet.
Yep. So I think the moment to fold top pair, this raise is not good.
Yeah, you should just call there.
I should just call there.
But I don't know if you could fold to the click back.
Without the diamond, I can.
If he makes 15,
yeah,
then I say it's an easy fold.
I think when you've got the nut flush backdoor nut flush draw, I think you have to see a card for that price.
I don't hate this. I think this is okay, and I think my initial raise was quite bad. All right, here we go. And now it's not me. It's not my problem. And how much money is the 10 going to lose? A lot.
Oh
All of the chips.
Well, only 65 of the chips.
So this is the kind of guy you want to set money against, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he is stacking off with his top. He's merging. He's really merging here.
Yeah.
He doesn't know if this is a value bet or a bluff.
I don't think he's merging in his mind because he probably doesn't even know what merging means.
Well, I know Villain 20. I mean, we went to band camp together.
And this one time in band camp.
And this one time we were talking
Yeah.
about merging.
Yeah. So if nothing else, this is just one of the reasons not to play 10-8 offsuit from the big blind in this configuration. There are others. All right. Another giant hand. Fold, fold, king 10, 1, 2, 3. King 10 has raises here. This is about 25% raise spot for king 10. If I was playing according to the current criteria for making things trackable, this is a fold combo of it, but this is a 25% raise.
I I think I would fold king 10 from that spot.
Yep.
It
But just
might have slivers, but
it's a healthy, I mean, I do it 25% of the time, and my memory is that it's
I
actually a healthy
I,
25%.
I would play king jack, not
Oh,
king
king
10.
jack is 100%. You can't fold king jack there.
Yeah.
But looking at the actual world, 100 bet
King
size.
10, King 10 off is in range.
Yeah, it's in range. I just wanted to show the size of it. I think it's a full 25%. And the answer is it's 25.8. So I underestimated the value of the king 10. But with that, it's a fold. So I'm safe.
Because I
This
always fold that.
is dramatically too early.
Is it okay to simplify and say I always fold it in the low jack?
Oh, 100%. If you want, if you take a look at a range like this and you simplify all of this to raise or fold, you take your king 10s and you put them in your queen jacks. You take your queen 8 and you put them in your king 7 and your king 5. So you raise all this 100%, you raise all this 100%. You take your 6s, 5s, 4s, 3s, deuces, pile them into 7s and maybe 6s, make these 100%, and then take all of this and put it all in either 6-5 or 10-9. You are going to be fine. You're going to be simplified. You're going to be implementable. Everything is good. Your regions will be okay. And I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about here because I want to talk about this when we get to it.
Also,
But
as
go
another
on.
point though, I cut king 10 off, but I play more of the suited connectors than
Right.
the solver does.
Yeah. If you think of the hands, you guys are seeing my poker cruncher here.
Yep.
If you think of the hands in the different colors as basically similar. Yes, I acknowledge that offsuit Broadway and suited Broadway are different, but that's going to come up. But you know, these are the regions that I optimized my simplification for, because my simplification isn't that simple. I mean, it's got a lot of different levels, but it's still more complex than the actual GTO strategy. And so what I try to do is when I come up with a range like this, here's my low jack range. Here are my 4 sizes. I've got 100%, 75%, 50%, which doesn't appear in the low jack, 25%, and 12.5%. Those are the options I have. I made it this complicated, and then while this gets a lot of it, it doesn't get everything. I then tried to balance so that my strategy is close to the GTO strategy for each of these regions. Now, it's possible these are not the right regions. Like maybe the 6 deuce does not belong in the same region as the 5-4 offsuit. And so if you do the kind of simplification we just said, your regions will be right using this idea of regions, which there might be a few edgy mistakes here that don't belong here, but I only wanted to do this many. And I'm happy to talk about this later with anybody who wants to adjust this, who thinks I should change what this is, because I'm still working on this. But you'll be wrong in your frequency of cards, meaning you'll be overrepresenting the 6s and 5s in your range and not have enough 8s and 7s, which is not a crime, but that's what will happen. So simplifying this and never playing the king is fine. I'm doing something slightly more subtle.
Instead of trying to, I have an alternate
Yeah.
Thought. Instead
Yeah.
of trying to study oh, I'm supposed to do this 25% of the time, I'm supposed to do this 50. if you kind of just know that it mixes, base it on the blinds. Like a hand like King 10 off is definitely playable if the blinds are tighter.
Yep.
Um,
And if you don't have a 3-betting table.
but if the table is like 60 a BPIP of 60 with a raise of 5, then I don't really want to play King 10.
Yep.
I'd rather be playing some of the suited connectors that might be more playable post flop and have the potential to flopping a stronger hand.
Yeah.
But say we had 2 nits in the blinds, King 10 is perfectly fine to open. I'd rather open King 10 than 6-5 suited if that was the case.
Sure. And then let me give you one other subtlety here. Let's make these guys tight and let's make the big blind super loose. Now I want to play King 10 because I want King 10 against a wide range in position. That'd be great. But if all these guys are very loose, I don't want King 10 out of position against multiple players.
But
So, yep.
In reality, though, I was trained that when you're opening a hand, the most important players to look at are the button and the big blind.
Yep.
Because they're the ones that are most likely going to be playing the hand with you. So it's really based on my reads on the button and the big blind. I wouldn't ignore the cutoff and the hijack, but they're not my main villains that I would be thinking of if I'm opening King 10.
Right. I think all of that is true. I think all of that is wise. And the 2 reasons why I have made the other choice is, one is I actually enjoy this. I find it soothing. And the other reason is this. Since we are cash players, we will be faced with this question all the time. Do I open when checked to? This is the first and one of the most important decisions in cash. Therefore, I can afford to get it really subtly down. I can afford to really know this. So that's why I'm choosing to put my energy there. All right. Moving on. Unless anybody else want to say anything about this before we move on to whether or not you open King 10 in the low jack?
Yeah, I'm at the total opposite end of the scale. I just remember don't play King 10
Okay.
in the
That'll
low
work.
jack. Like I'm
That'll
not
work.
into that. I'm not at the point where I'm going to be rewarded by that sort of subtlety, I think.
Well,
That's
what
fine.
That makes sense.
what do you do with this hand in the hijack?
Raise. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. The moral for me, I can play it in the hijack, but not in the low jack.
Yeah,
100%.
same for me
100%.
because yeah, offsuit eights in
Yeah,
the
like that's just what I've
yeah,
memorized.
Yep.
Play it in the hijack. Don't play it in the
Right.
low jack.
That works.
So
In
yeah.
this
I
particular
have like
hand,
the grammar school version of what you're doing.
All right. See, this is how you're supposed to think at the table, though. You have King 10 here, and it can go either way. The button's a complete nit. What do you think you're supposed to do then?
Oh, I raise it then if that but like my default play is to fold it. But if I have like the extra fold equity, yeah, I can see raising it.
so Joey is advocating for something like this, and I agree with it. Also, it's not what I'm choosing to do, which is take a chart, something like this, learn all of the red, and maybe take the purple is 75% or more, turn that red, and then everything else is one other thing in your mind, optional. So each range you go, I raise all this, and these other hands I think about. And it doesn't matter what their percentage is. It doesn't matter if it's a 50% hand or a 25% hand. It's a hand that I consider, and I look at the blinds. I look at the big blind and the button, and I make my decision. And if the button has got his hands on his cards, looked at him, and is waiting to fold them, has got that folding position, then 2 things. Then I raise it because the button is going to fold, and also because now I'm actually in the hijack.
Well,
Exactly.
that is where I was going because I agree with everything you just said, but if the button is a nit or if he's showing signs he's going to fold,
Yeah.
use a hijack range, not a low
Exactly.
jack range.
Yep. That is the most reliable tell in poker.
Look to the
Is
left.
is right. Is someone to your left planning on folding? Because they're not trying to hide it. If they exhibit this tell, they're trying to speed the game up. So they do not lie. And you'll know whether they lie or not from hands you're not in, because you will have seen them exhibited in the past hour. You'll have seen them exhibit the fold tell lie. And then you know that they're a fold tell bluffer. And almost no one is, and they become super obvious. All right, moving on. This 6-8 is way too early. You could make an argument for 8-7 or 6-7 here, but this is crazy. This leads to all my folds. 10-10 probably mixes calls and raises, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
yeah,
I've
that
been
seems
doing
likely.
folder or 3-bet.
Mostly calls.
So I don't have that choice. So
Right.
I always choose folder 3-bet because of Joey.
Oh,
And
wait,
just so you know,
wait.
And I've got a report
No.
on how that's been working out.
You know, Joey,
I
you're
gave you an
forgetting something.
exception. I
No,
gave
Joey,
you
you're
an
forgetting
exception.
something. You're forgetting something. You told Derek this exception. This was Derek's exercise for 3 months.
Right. But I
We
did
told
tell
him-
him he can call in the button and the big blind.
But the thing we said was, he said, I know that you can call on the button, but for the next 3 months, don't even do it on the button and really see what happens. So Derek is still in his experimental phase.
Oh, cool. Well, how's it going?
Oh, I've got a report that
Yes.
I wrote up. So when we get a chance, I'll present that.
Fabulous. Fabulous. We'll do that. I love it. So anyway, yeah.
Well,
These
real
10s,
quick, is it good or bad?
It's about 3K.
which
So-
way?
Up?
Up.
Yay!
In one hand.
All right. Great. We have our experiment is going well. right. So
Well, it wasn't
Is-
new because that's what I had a coach tell me to do years ago.
yep. So here we go. I'm going to suspect that 10-10 is raised on the button more than GTO. That it's a hand that people like to raise more. And so I'm going to make the guess that he raises. I'm wrong. All right. Now this should go fold, fold. Good. They do that right.
I think unstudied players will call it more than raise.
Right.
Yeah, I
You might be-
agree.
I might,
I agree.
I might just remembering the way I used to play, that I was 100% raise when it's 10s. Okay. So, in this configuration, put your hands over their cards and ignore what their cards are for a second. At least 50%-ish of villain 21's range should be a check here. Some should check raise, some should check call, some should check fold, but he should do a lot of checking in this configuration, I think. Is that right?
Okay, if we had a standard range from there on a paired board, queen high, I guess that there's more than 50% betting.
Okay. Let's look at this one for that. Now, once we get that, but he definitely has a checking range here. There's no chance he's doing anything like betting range here.
Yeah, there's gonna definitely be a checking
No.
range.
No,
And
I don't
there's-
think you have like a betting range, a bet range.
Yeah.
Out of position, unless it's like an ace king board versus the button.
And the other thing that we assume is that almost every hand that he bets GTO here, he also checks. That almost every hand mixes frequencies from out of position. And so his tendencies
Hello?
are not going to,
No, he was talking to somebody else.
oh, okay. So since the board is such that every hand that bets also checks, that's my assumption, and Larry's going to confirm this in a minute once we look at this thing. We don't look at this particular hand and go, well, because of this hand we want to bet. We want to think something about our button if it pushed us either direction. And
Yeah, you want to take a look?
not yet. We want to play the hand out, then we're going.
Okay.
But having said that, I fully expect a bet from someone who opens 6-8 suited in early position. When they flop a flush draw, they're betting. So I expect a bet here. There's a bet, and it's large. And I don't think he has any large bets on this flop from out of position. I think that his bets are all small. Against this paired board. Tens, this seems totally easy for tens. Don't raise. There's no reason to raise here.
Pure call.
Right. Okay. Lose a little bit more money, but not a lot. He should absolutely continue now. I guess our theory is on a flush completing card, he should be continuing small. Lots of equity is completed, and he doesn't necessarily have the best hand. So I'm expecting that the solver, and we'll give him a suited connector instead of a suited gapper when we do it. I'm going to guess that this is going to be a small bet. Anybody want to argue for a big bet here or a check?
I would bet small here. I mean, you've got a good hand, but the ace and king flush draws are still available.
Yeah, I actually don't like too small. I would think more of a medium.
Okay, so
yeah.
give us an exact
Yeah.
size. What's small? What's medium in your mind? What size?
Well, let's see here. Yeah, he's somewhere around half pot.
Okay, sounds good. So
I'm
let's
back.
see some.
Can you just quickly go back through the hand so I could see what happened?
He bets out too large. 5.36 gets a call, picks up his flush, and now we're discussing the size of his bet here. And Skate is advocating for half pot, and let me see. Can you see that when I put up the chat? Can you guys see the chat on my window here?
No.
Okay. Anyway, then I'll just put it in there. Mr. Frosty at 12:05 said 60% pot. So I'm going to guess that bad Mr. Frosty that's his turn bet, not his flop bet.
So, in theory, on a paired board, out of position, we probably have a lot of checks here.
Yep. So Skate's betting, I don't want to write percentage. Skate's betting 9. I'm betting 6. And Mr. Frosty is betting 60% pot, so he's betting bigger than Skate, so he's betting about 10. All right. Anybody else
I think I like Mr. Frosty's.
Okay. So this is Frosty and Josh and Joey. There we go. Joey, you're spelled joy
I mean,
now.
we're not going to have like over bets,
Right.
but
Okay.
I think
And
we're
Larry,
going to slightly polarize a double
sounds good.
barrel.
Larry, are you checking here? Is that what you said?
No, I think he said there would be some checks. I don't know if he said he would check.
Well, anybody else who wants to vote, feel free to put it in the chat. We're going to find out. All right. But he goes bigger than any of us. Larry's in team check. Okay. The tens against this size should be folding a third pair with an open-ended straight when he's dead to the full house that's in range and dead to the flush that's in range to a bet this size. Against a small bet, I think he has to continue, but against this size, he should fold. And he does not. And life is bad for him. Let's see how bad.
Worst card in the deck.
Worst card in the deck. Is an 8 worse? No, it's really bad because
10 of hearts would have been really bad.
Yeah.
Would have been fun.
Yeah. 10 of hearts would have been comedy. But yeah, okay. Here we go. And he checks, and now the tens make the mistake of how big is their mistake?
That's a big
Huge. All right.
Made it straight.
Not solver approved. All right. Let's see it, Larry. I don't think any of us need to say what we would have done. On that river, you could bet that river with your straight. I wouldn't love it, but you certainly shouldn't be shoving it.
All right, so
Yep.
UTG here. Mostly checks, but it's got bets on this paired board.
What's
So
the total check percentage? 58%. I beat Joey. Yay.
so
he's
what's
not
his
UTG.
low flush draw supposed to do, right? Let's just look at one hand class. So his flush draws down here in this area are mixing small bets. This is kind of the equivalent of what he has, like small bets down here.
Sure.
He doesn't have big bets. He had some big bets with the king high flushes. And
One
then what
question
about
there.
flush draw nuts? And then kind of same mix with the flush draw nuts.
So the kings bet more because it's a better flush draw. Is that the idea?
I think the low flush draws bet small or check because they've got reverse implied odds. And I would guess the king high flush draws have less reverse implied odds.
So when
And
they
let's
make
be
a
clear,
bad
the
flush
big
and
bet
lose.
that they're showing here is a half pot bet, not a 75. There is some slivers of 75, but
Yeah,
it's
good
the
point.
big bet is 50.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, we can ignore all that 75.
Well, he used a big bet in game, right?
Yeah, I think he went 75 or 66 or whatever.
Yeah. So, I think all our pairs call here. Well, it's very linear, but the tens get in there. That we really want to have a backdoor flush draw slash blocking flush draw.
Yeah.
So, but we call, and the flush completes. Now this is where it gets interesting. Yeah, we check. We check this hand. We check range.
Good job, Larry.
I cheated.
Okay, the paired board.
I
Not-
cheated. I looked at it while we were doing it. So,
Okay.
so let's talk about why this happens. And I think I wonder if it has anything to do with the size here. Let's just put in a normal size real quick.
Yeah.
Calls a jack of hearts, right?
Yeah.
Do we get bets now? Yeah, now we get some bets, but we still mostly check.
Yeah.
But
Actually, I think it might have something to do with the equity shift
yeah. Well, I
because
mean, that equity shift is going to be driven by the ranges that we get here with the big bet versus the small bet, I would imagine. So, yeah, let's look at the equities. So, with the flush completing card, yeah, the imposition player has a significant equity advantage, and he's got a real nut advantage too, right? So if we go to,
you just see what it is on the flop.
okay, let me just look at this, please. And so with a nut and range advantage going to imposition, that's what must be driving this. On the flop, it looks like it's pretty much
It's pretty even.
yeah, it's pretty much a toss up, but out of position has a nut advantage. He's got the overcards. So, yeah, so this is just an interesting strat to see this.
Well,
Larry, when you look at the
say nut
strategy here,
advantage, Matt Affleck told me when pros talk about nut advantage, they're not just talking about the very top. They're talking everything in the range of the 85th percentile to the top.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we're about here.
yeah, which is big for blue. Larry, one thing, would you give him like a 50% bet, which is close to what he did? Because I want to let him have something on the, because we break the solver if he bets on the turn.
Yes.
I mean,
Before-
is it our hand? I'm just like thinking, like why solver wants to check on the turn, like because starting from pre-flop to flop. I mean, I guess it's button. They're calling a lot of their suited hands, so we can't be reverse implied odds like flush over flush kind of hand. And I don't see many boats there either because nines is kind of blocked, and they're raising a lot with queens and maybe some jacks some portion of the time.
Well, I mean, the first answer, Skate, is that this is really about range versus range, right?
Yeah.
In solver land. So
Okay.
we're out of position with a range disadvantage and with a nut disadvantage, right? So in range versus range, in theory, we're going to have a lot of checks here. And so because of that, it's going to drive this strategy.
Right. So give him a 33% bet now on the flop, which we looked at. And now we get the call. We get the jack of hearts. And now we have some bets. Roll over the small, what are the size? Okay, so everybody on team check with Larry wins, which is just Larry. It's Larry and the Houston Astros.
Good job.
Larry.
Yeah. Because he heard that, what happened was he heard that big bang from the garbage can, so he knew it was a changeup.
That's true.
Yes, but
Yes, yes. I was
but
feeling the signs.
right. But those of us who were on team bet, I want to point out the size. It is only small.
Yeah, yeah. And
Oh.
again, I wonder with this ranges that get here.
So while I was wrong, I was more right than Skate.
What's interesting here is when we use this small bet, enough of our range stays in that now we do have a range advantage. And that's what's driving it. So when he uses that bigger size, he's
Yeah.
filtering the ranges so that when this jack of heart comes, on turn, in position has the range and nut advantage. However, when he uses this less filtering size on turn, we maintain a range advantage, which
Yep.
is now going to allow us to have bets.
Yeah. And so that's as far as the solver is going to help us with the real hand. They are so far off the rails, we have no solve answer. But let's look at the one thing. Let's get to the river. So when he makes a bet here, and does he have any big bet?
And he just has them.
Let's give him a 50% bet on that. So the tens don't fold to a small bet now that are here. They start folding to that, and the ones without a heart are gone mostly. So given that his bet size was bigger than 50, he bet.
I don't know. You have to tell us.
He bet giant, and then he bet 70. He bet 13 into 18.
So he should have folded.
Yeah, so he should fold his tens here. But he has a call of them, so he does call them. And let's see what the rivered straight does in this misery.
Was this the king, right?
I think
King of spades.
King of spades. All right, so now the flushes are going to get. Now I'm curious how far down in our flushes
I don't think
we
he
get
has
to
many
value
checks
bet.
with his flushes.
So we never play these this way. Let's just look. Because I'm curious if with this weak a flush, if you can value bet on a paired board, and you're more. So this is a B35, so this feels like more of a blocker sizing to me.
Yeah.
Then where we are disregarding the paired board and we are kind of going for it with our ace high.
Yeah, we're gonna look. We're gonna see if
B13.
those ace highs that check, if they check raise, or if they're afraid of the full house. I think they're check raising all in, but we now check, and
Okay.
let's see. And I think it right. Let's see. Does a 10 bet anything here? It certainly doesn't jam.
Oh yes, yes. So he checked in game.
Right, and now the 10, the straight. It does not.
Mostly checks behind.
It just checks, and when it bets, it's total blocker size, right? How small is it? Is it smaller than half pot?
Well, I think we can disregard it because it's all the straights are
Right.
checking 95% of the time.
Right, but when it bets, it violates the Affleck rule.
Yeah, hit clear. This might be one of the exceptions we were looking for.
It is. It's small. It's a tiny part of the range, but it violates the Affleck rule.
Oh, well, no, when it's 1% of the range, I'm not going to.
Okay, maybe it's solver noise.
We can't build heuristics over
No.
small.
No, but we were looking for times that it happened, and that's small enough to go full on Affleck. So he should never bet. When he bets, his bet size across the range, we'll take a look at what it is when you're done with what you're doing. So you go first, Larry.
I just think it's interesting that so this is when OOP checks to us, his range must be composed of a significant amount of full house trap checks because we are checking back the nut flush
Yeah,
at a certain frequency, and this is only happening if we're running into trapped houses.
yeah.
So let's
So,
just look here real quick.
yeah,
Yeah, so he's got 35% of the time he's trapping houses.
yeah,
And so that's going to drive this check back nut flush.
yeah. So we bet, let's bet on the button. Let's bet the most common size for the range, which is
Uh,
35%.
yeah, so it's kind of like a
Oh, Larry, there it is. I'm not sorry, Joey, this did violate it. We're on the, it gets checked by under the gun. We're in position and our most common size was 35%. This was a full-on
No, it
non-Affleck.
wasn't.
What did I see wrong? Whose range am I looking at?
This is under the gun range.
Right, so under the gun checks.
Oh, and then this is the button range.
Oh, no, we never do it. Okay, I looked at a different thing.
It is done a little bit, but I
No.
don't think it's enough to start creating a heuristic over it.
No, it's not. I looked at the wrong thing. I looked at 35 or something. Okay, so the most common size is
seven.
no, not
It's,
under the gun checks. Under the gun checks.
I think you were looking at this range when you saw
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
I
you were
looked at
looking
this
out of position. So,
Yeah.
okay, we check. You want to see what the most common bet size is?
for the button. Yeah, he bets 18.5 is his most common size. So let's give it to him and see, do we check raise the nut flush now?
Oh, I see your point.
When were we check call, were we
No,
protecting
I
or
think it's with the full
No.
houses in range, we just call.
right? And how about if he bets the smaller size? Instead of the 86, he bets the 13. Bets this one. Do the nut flushes start betting? Nope. All right, there you go.
Yeah, he's got. Yeah, there must be enough full houses in this range.
Okay.
Like if we won't do it, but if you look at range versus range and you look house versus house, he must have a lot.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Anything
the
else to see
moral-
here, guys?
After
the
the
moral
button
is-
shoves, does under the guns fold any of the small flushes?
Oh, that's good.
He is
He folds
indifferent AF.
Oh, he doesn't ever make it into the checking range with like the 8-6.
right, and then he folds the flush.
And he's folding some of the nut flushes.
Wow. Okay, so this guy turned his tens into a bluff, is what we're saying,
Yeah, he turned his tens to a bluff.
and he didn't even know that he was turning him into a bluff.
So
Mergy, man.
Yeah.
so
He
the
did
rule is to
shove,
be
right?
more careful if you have crap flushes on a paired board. when
No,
you
because
check-
we bet the crap flushes. We bet the crap flushes on the turn. I mean, on the river. We bet him.
but not
is
on
it-
the turn necessarily.
We bet them small,
Right.
and I'm wondering if we bet small, if we fold to a raise too.
Yeah, if we bet small and get shoved.
Check it out.
Okay, well, just to remind everybody, so flushes, we get a lot of
There's
blocker-esque type betting. So
There
let's do that.
there is some of the 7-6, 6-5, and 5-4 suited. It's slivers, but it is in there.
So and then if he shoves here, what do we do? Well, he's not really supposed to shove. We'll give him a 53.
I'll be right back.
Give him a standard raise size. I'm guessing we might fold the bottom flushes. You might have to go to clear full range so we could see the bottom ones folding 100%.
We're folding kings. We're folding some aces. We're folding the bottom ones.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
shook. We're shook. We're even folding
I-
this ace-6, which
We're
has it
folding
must
more
have some
flushes
blocker
than
properties.
calling. Wow.
Ace five of hearts is look at
Why
ace
is it
five
picking
calling.
the ace-5 to be the hero?
That's what I'm wondering.
Good question.
Let's look at it in the height. Does he have that just a lot less or a lot more? If we normalize it again, about the same as a6.
So we're happy to fold the ace-6 nut flush. and
Yeah.
call
Yeah,
with
but
the
I mean,
ace-5
let's just look at
on
EV. Yeah, it's very close. I mean, we can almost ignore this.
0.2.02 equity.
Yeah.
Got to get that
200th
0.02.
200th of a chip.
But
Yeah.
it says ace-5 suited has 0 equity. That's really interesting.
Yeah, so I think we can kind of ignore this.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, I'm gonna hand it back.
Okay, that was cool. We got to see all the misplaying, massive amounts of misplaying on this. All right. And so if you got here with all the misplaying, that tens, this bluff, maybe, which he didn't know was a bluff, maybe should have worked. All right.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, it's not
See,
gonna
we
though.
we saw all that in theory. I'm not sure any of that really holds up against population.
No, those were all misplays.
Like,
Every mis every mistake there was a mistake and not exploitative.
I'm seriously questioning checking range on the turn. Um, Not in a GTO manner, but in against our population of players, is that will still really the best option?
I don't know, but I think I do want to take the GTO heuristic of that when the equity completes, our bets when we make them are going to be small and not large. I'm happy to go against GTO saying that this is not a check range situation. But I would like to follow the GTO thing on sizing until I have a better reason not to. But I mean, the main thing where we got that, but Joey, the main thing we got on that check range was because of the huge bet, the huge bet on the flop that we aren't going to make. We don't think that was a good idea, right?
No, I actually wasn't here. I
Oh,
got a food delivery right in the beginning.
okay. Let me,
And I
here's
missed
what,
I missed
okay,
the
let me give you
call
one
back in.
second. This is what drove the full check. Raise call, then here betting big.
Oh no, it should be about two and
Right.
a half, three.
Right, exactly. Because
At
this bet was
best.
so big, this bet is what caused us to have a check back range on the turn.
Oh, okay, I missed that.
Right. When this bet is
So
of the right size,
if we
right.
bet normal, we still get our betting range on the
We have a
turn.
betting range and a checking range, and it's, we check more maybe than we might expect, but it mixes and you're comfortable with that. Yeah. All right. So we have not yet violated all of GTO. All right. At least I'm the guy and not the other guy this time. And let's see, does it all just happen on the flop, pre-flop? Four. Oh, it's gonna all happen pre-flop. Four, call. Oh, this is great.
So the only question I have here is, are we ever
Stop.
using a super premium discount?
I probably do. Because there's so many people in, I think, so the theory raise size is 12, 16, 20, 20 and a half, 24 and a half is the theory size. And I'm going to go more like 22 than 24 and a half, I think. 20 or 22. 20. I'm going full on 20. Which is enough to get that. Which is enough to get that. Oh, yeah. Oh, and I don't even
Wait, go back one step.
it's good back.
80. Hey,
He clicks me.
I think you could shove here.
I could. I could shove here. This,
Now you're
this
just
is
having fun.
yeah, I'm just having fun. And yeah, so that's how it happens. It's just the order. I I think that this might be so obvious. Although this is not a click back. He clicks me. This is
There's a
Click
replay.
Plus. Yeah, this is Click Plus.
Click Plus. Yeah, this
It's
is pretty face up.
right.
We're
It's
back in
face up.
2000. We're back in 2017 with the Clickback Awards.
Yes, exactly. And one of the reasons I this is overly cute, but one of the reasons I don't hate it is he now knows, but I'm almost giving him the odds in his, to call for this enormous pot when I have no reverse implied odds left. And he has no implied odds left. But it makes it so hard to get away. It's so hard to get away from ace king suited here. He's never getting away from king king.
So if I have a population that 5 bets aces and nothing else,
Then you fold kings if you
yeah,
if you believe this. Before I'd want to believe that, I'd like to see all their hands face up like
Yep.
this.
exactly.
Because you got to really believe this. Because the solver says aces and kings are the same hand.
Yeah, but I'm not playing against the solver.
Right. Yeah. Right. So yeah, if their 5 bet is aces pure, fold everything except 6-7 suited. When you have when you have a lot of implied odds behind.
Exactly.
All right, there we go. That was fun. Oh, look at that turn. Screaming no 4, no 4, no king. I may have been screaming out loud. All right. Tens raise, ace jack suited 3 bets, aces 4 bets.
Did I ever tell you guys about my very worst bad beat? with
Tell us about your
pocket
very worst
aces?
bad beat.
Pocket aces versus pocket kings. He did not 4-bet pre-flop. He just called. The flop was ace king king, and we got the money in on the flop.
Mm-hmm.
And well, it was in a tournament, 200 big blinds deep.
Pain.
Yep. My worst bad beat is
It,
I had
it,
quad. Oh,
the bad beat part about it was I drove 200 miles, and that was the first hand.
oh my God. No, there's one worse bad beat. It was in a tournament, not a cash game, so there's no bad beat jackpot. Oh no, your aces. No, aces full of kings is a bad beat jackpot in a lot of places. Yeah. My worst bad beat story is pocket jacks against pocket aces on a board of ace ace jack jack the week before they instituted a bad beat jackpot.
Yeah, just seeing the aces versus kings there triggered the memory.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So here we go. I think I can fold the ace jack suited here when it comes around to me. So there's the raise. There's the 3 bet. There's the 4 bet. There's the, yeah, it's easy. I only lose 9. This
Win.
is,
That's a
this
win.
is, this is terrible for the tens, right?
Yeah, it's horrible.
Because, and here's going to be my argument for this. And I'm saying this out loud for myself so I learn it, not so much for you guys. Let's start by giving the guy a not particularly GTO range. And let's give him aces, kings. Let's give him let's give him 9s plus and all the ace king, suited and offsuit, and ace queen suited. Let's give him that range for a second. Tens does badly against that range. Fold. Now give him a more GTO range and include some ace 5 suited bluff, it's out there, and one insane king 7 suited bluff that I don't even think GTO has. 10 still does terrible against that range. Fold.
This play is losing 5 chips.
Yeah, this is bad. But this play is great for me.
True.
There you go. All right. Big pots. The rule is big pots come from big hand, go with big hands, and the answer is big pots go with big mistakes, is what we're learning most of all.
True.
That 5-4 versus 3-3 hand was one of the few hands that we've seen where we said, yep, this was a cooler. Oh, and the kings versus aces was a cooler.
Aces versus kings. That was supposed
Yeah,
to
yeah,
go.
that was a cooler too. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right. This 7/8 suited has a sliver of raising in this position, but mostly folds. Let's see how bad it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At 5, that puts him in the tree. And yes, 7/8 suited raises here about 12.5% of the time, by the way, for those of you who are interested. It's actually gonna be slightly under 12.5%. I'll go look that up. If he raises, then it should be raise, folds around to the aces, who should 3-bet, and he should call. If he folds, the king-8 suited should raise. When the aces get there, they should raise, and the king-8 suited should fold. If
Well,
it's the 4-5 who raises and the aces suited call, then the 4-5 suited should call.
in population, the 4-5 suited's going to call almost any.
He's going to call the 7/8 or the 8, king-8,
Yeah.
giving the aces enough oomph that he should fold unless it goes call. All right.
Although he does have some 3-bets from there. Like if 7-8 opens, 5-4 suited can 3-bet.
Right. So here's our friend. He is an under the gun +1, and there is his 7/8. That's 7%. I'm doing it 12.5. He folds. Good. I fold. The king-8, 1, 2, 3 should be raising this 100% of the time. This is not a mix.
Yeah, this is right.
Raise, kids.
But calling a 3-bet, and there must be a 4-bet bluff in here. He might
Yeah.
4-bet bluff this, is I think what we might
Yeah.
see.
He's super deep. You don't get that deep without some 4-bet bluffs. You don't get to 300 big blinds without playing aggressive. The king-7 here is mixes in the low jack. The king-8 is 100% raise. And to show it to you, just so you see it, and so I get to see it, to remind myself.
I play the king-7 pretty much too all the time.
Yeah, that's fine. I was saying the king-7 is not mandatory, but I mean I'm playing it. King-7 and king-5 are the ones that have anything, but the king-8 is way up there. Like this, don't fold this.
My guess is the 4-5 cold calls twice. That's my guess.
There's your cold call, or the aces don't make it big enough. Let's see. Aces, non-cute, the aces should raise 2. Who wants to do the size?
Minimum of 15.
Yeah, 15 or 16.
15, 12, okay, 9, 12, 13, 13.5 plus 3 is 16.5 is my calculation of what he should do. And if he pushes that down to 15 because he's got aces, that's adorable.
Well, I know the GTO Wizard and Jonathan's pot +1, but a lot of pros still go 3x in position, 4x out of position.
Okay.
I usually use the 4x plus the caller to get to 15.
All those numbers are good. This is maybe overly cute. He may get 2 callers, and you don't want 2 callers with aces out of position. You want 1. But you can't always control things, because when you size this such that the first guy calls, then the second guy is highly incentivized to call with 5-4 suited. So anyway, he goes 11, and the king-8 does the absolute right thing, get out of the way. And normally the 5-4 should be calling, but against this oversize, I think he's got it. Let's see.
No, it's undersized.
But it's oversized to what his normal raise. Oh, because an out of position raise here would go from 3 to 12 anyway. Yeah. And the dead money, he should call. Good enough. Good on you. There's your call. All right. Someone's losing a lot of money. 8. That's small into this unbelievably dry board that misses everything. That's great.
I'm wondering if we check this in solver with the 2, does he have any bets like about 13?
I think he's got like half pot, or maybe even like bigger.
On this dry board?
Yeah, the jack high board with exactly.
Yeah.
I predict a 6 on the turn.
An ace.
And I call. Oh, an ace. An ace, even worse. I predict a 6. But an ace, oh, that's it. He
Yeah.
calls.
There's this, yeah.
The
Locked
reason
up.
the reason I know that, we've seen this hand before in flow. When we were doing a review, this hand got played. And I just remembered the 6. All right. Goodbye. That's 30. I would think the raise should come now before the flush completes and maybe cost him his
No,
customer
no,
and maybe
no.
cost him a pot.
I just call here.
Okay.
What's the thinking?
The SPR is super small. And you're in position. You don't have to worry about having him check behind or anything. If he checks, you could just put it in on the river. And with such a small SPR, he has to almost call, even if a flush hits with a pair.
He clicks it back. And the ace is fully realizing that they're sometimes beat here, but when they're not beat, it's sometimes a flush draw. And besides, fuck my last chips is gonna go all in. There's no way the ace is just calling here. He's just gonna shove it. Yeah. 4-5. There we go. Given this action, can the aces get away from it?
Exploitatively, yes, but I doubt in theory they can. 'Cause, I mean, in theory, he's going to have bluffs, but in reality, he's not.
So we want to, one of the things that pushes us towards not folding a bluff catcher is, do you beat any of his overplayed value range? Are you really on a bluff catcher or are you on a mergy bluff catcher? Right? That's a big question.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a tough one because of the action pre. So this range is a really strange one, right?
Yeah.
Because it was a squeeze, fold, and then this guy was the flutter.
Right.
So the best hand this guy conceivably could have, I think, right now, I mean, he could have jacks, and then you're losing. I don't know of
Have deuces and threes.
Yeah, but
Not
sets
GTO,
of
but
deuces and
played.
threes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He can have sets of deuces and threes. He can have the 4-5, and he can have the ace jack of hearts easily.
When he makes this imposition, yeah, raise
10 jack
here.
of hearts, queen jack of hearts.
The only thing you're beating it right now is like a 9-8 of hearts, or like a maybe a jack 10 of hearts.
I'm voting jack 10, jack queen, ace jack, and king queen of and king jack, all of hearts. I could
I
see
don't
that.
know if those hands were, do they raise a position? How often does
I
population raise
I
in
think
this?
unless he has hearts, all those hands you just listed should be a fold. Or
No,
not, I'm sorry,
they
just
were
a
all
call. Just a
I,
call.
right. I called them all hearts. I'm saying,
I know, but that's such a small portion of his range.
yeah. So you advocate for folding the aces then?
Beluga theorem.
Yeah, that's true. The Beluga theorem is the Beluga the whale theorem or is it the multi-way theorem?
Well, it was it's called the Beluga theorem because it was beluga whale on 2+2 that originated the theorem.
Right. Okay. Then
That
yes.
when facing a raise on the turn, you have to seriously consider the value of your hand if you have only one pair.
Right. Oh, and then there's the other one, which is in multi-way pots where it goes contested, one pair doesn't win very often. And here this pot was no, it's not technically multi-way. Well,
No,
it's not multi-way.
no, it's not.
Three people have to see the flop. No. Okay, so just that. Yep.
Yeah, and that's my theorem.
Yep. Turn
I was the
raises
one that said
rarely
that.
one pair.
So for me to call one pair to a turn raise, it has to be from the right opponents.
Right. And it's not like you made a small inducing bet.
Yeah,
It's not like you bet 5 to try to induce. You bet 3, you bet polarized, and he raised you polarized. He didn't, not polarizing raise. He
But
raised your polarized bet.
oh, but the other issue I have is if these guys are playing anywhere near GTO, first of all, I don't think the 5-4 race is here because there's already a huge bet and they can just call and get the money in on the river. But you got to think of MDF. What hands is the small blind going to double barrel for value?
Pocket jacks,
But yeah, queens, kings,
ace, king,
aces, pocket jacks,
that's it.
ace, ace jack suited.
With hearts.
So I mean, if you're folding aces, what are you calling with in your value range? Just pocket jacks?
Ace jack suited with hearts.
Yeah, ace
It,
king suited with hearts, you might throw in
yeah.
a call.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of discipline to, I mean, what really has to happen here is that you have to think flexibly. And the term that
Oh,
Peter
go ahead,
Clark uses
Larry.
is fortune reversal. I mean, this is a fortune reversal.
Mm-hmm.
Your aces have shrunk in equity, and you need to be able to understand that and adjust your strategy quickly, which should include at some frequency folding.
Yeah.
And maybe we get the call with the ace of hearts.
No, don't you think it'd be the opposite? Don't we want him to have a flush draw when he does this? Don't we want to put the ace of hearts in his hand? I mean, we'd like the flush not to come in, but if he doesn't have the ace of hearts, then he is not bluffing hearts here.
Yeah,
If you-
I think we want him to have the ace of hearts. I mean, we're
Yeah.
taking away a big portion of the bluffing range we're beating if he
Yeah.
has the
we
ace of
we would
hearts.
really like him to be bluffing here to call with one pair. So that's what I think. And so this is
Yeah.
we're checking, Larry. This one's going into the solver as a raise from the low jack
But
and
I
a
don't
three
think the
bet from
solver
the blind.
won't give us an answer because I'm pretty sure in a solver, aces isn't getting away from this.
Right, but we want to know, but we have other things. We want to know, does the 4-5 raise here in that configuration, in that three bet pot? And we want to know if it does against any raises, what does aces do, and do they prefer the ace of hearts? So this is something to learn. We're ignoring the three-way nature of it, and we're ignoring the fact that the 4-5 is a bit capped. We're just going
Well, we can
raise,
even
Also want to see flop sizing, C bet flop sizing.
yeah, and whether this 30 is here. Yeah, we're running this one.
Okay.
All right, there we go. Tell us when you're ready.
All right.
This hand just got interesting. Fold, 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 raise, fold, A7 suited. Some
Small blind.
three betting, fold. Some calling in the, if you have a calling range, A7 suited is probably in it. If you don't have a calling range,
No, I don't think A7 will be in the calling range. I think it'll have some three betting. I typically ignore the A6 and A7 because they are kind of rarely three bet, but they're in there.
Who you have opening the button?
King 4 suited,
Cut off.
Oh,
King
okay.
4. King 4, and then the button folds.
Still, against a late position raise, I'm three betting A7.
Right. And by the way, if the King 4 folds, then the 8-6 is opening.
Yep. And I'm just saying that A7, I'm pretty sure A6 and A7 are the two suited aces that have the most folding, but they do three bet.
Okay. In the small blind against the button, I mean, against the cutoff. Yep. There's your raises. They have a sliver, so we don't hate it, but there's your raises. And if the raise comes from the 6-8 instead, it shouldn't change it much. Those ranges are not that different. It does though. The button is wide enough compared to that you can just raise every one of these. Fold your ace deuce and just raise every other ace. Simplify your life. All right. But what actually happens is the King 4 raises, so I fold. So the ace-7 suited. If we've learned anything about how our opponents play, we'll just call.
Yeah, they're
Nope.
just oh, he
No.
hits three bet.
He hits this one. Nicely done.
I think versus a 3x open, it's going to increase that three bet frequency.
Is it?
I don't know.
I thought it would
I
increase the folds.
I think in a solver
Make
against
the
a
flop.
3x, it would make it fold.
Yeah,
You can go to pre-flop only.
that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Flop only 100.
It's not gonna
Open
let you do it though, man.
3x.
NL50.
Maybe it will.
Where's NL50? There we go. NL50. There it is. General will be fine. Cut
I
off
think the larger
raises.
bet makes it fold.
Let's see.
Yeah, it increases the A6 and the A7 a little.
It does. But
It's logical, right? There's more dead money out there.
yes, but also remember this. I'm going to do the exact same solve, no change, except I'm going to make the raise size the 2.5 that the last one was, and let's see if the range is the same. And it is not. So there is a different assumption going on. We have not learned anything about the difference between a 2.5 and a 3x raise. We've learned the difference between the algorithm that GTO Wizard uses for its pre-flop only and its pre-flop post-flop thing. And no
And
one
was
is
it a 9? Was it a 9 max configuration the first time?
no, both were no, I looked. Oh man, shut up. Maybe. Okay, 6 max, 100.
No,
Post,
6 max is post flop.
I know, I'm doing post-flop. Post-flop 2.5, same situation. Let's see it. Okay, there you go. Yes, it post look at this difference. If you give it a post flop, if you say you can play post flop, cutoff raises, small blind does this with it. If the only thing you change is you say there is no post flop. Let me go to this one. Here we are. Change. I've changed nothing except the pre-flop only. Still 100, any, NL50, everything is the same. The bet size is the same. And it drastically changes it because the algorithm it's using is different and we do not know what goes into that. And no one at GTO Wizard has answered us. And if anyone has any friends at GTO Wizard who's watching this, we desperately want an answer because we do not know how to use the pre-flop tool intelligently when we say it's giving us such contradictory answers. We can't learn anything between the difference 2.5 and 3 when we look at this. I mean, you can do this and say, well, in a vacuum, if this is your 2.5,
Well,
this is what your 3 would be. But that's, your 3 is less often, but that's not really helpful.
I mean, go back and look at the cutoff range to start with.
It's going to be different, but
Go,
it's there, and there's no validity for it being different.
but it is different
Right.
here.
But that's what I'm saying is that assumption. So they chose a different, oh, geez. The cutoff. No, but this is the thing. Why the cutoff does not, there's no validity in this thing. Here's the cutoff's opening range, 2.5 with no post flop, right?
It's 2%. It's 2%.
Completely different than this cutoff range because I know this cutoff range by heart. It's different than this cutoff range. And
Yeah, it is different.
And there's no poker reason. The assumptions are all the same. Why is our cutoff playing different? I accept that our small blind plays different because our cutoff plays different. I do not accept why our cutoff plays different, and I do not know how to learn from this. And I would like them to say to me, "Oh, that's because the assumption was."
And here it is. The assumption is that the small blind is raising 12 in this is 3-betting 12. In the other configuration, it was only 3-betting to 11.
Right.
That's the assumption change.
So that's the assumption. So if they told us that, they'd said, by the way, when we ran the thing, we started with we used a different 3-bet size for the small blind, and that changed everything along the way. I'd go, okay. So maybe that's what it is. Thank you.
All right. Well,
back to this.
Here's another thought.
Yes.
I don't know where you are at your poker learning level, but there were several years where I was like, this is the chart, this is what I'm going to play. And the past few years, I've realized that opening hand charts are just guidelines.
Yes.
And Crazy Sixes always used to tell us, do not be a slave to the charts.
Yep.
And that's what he means. Like, it, they're a good starting point. Sometimes you're supposed to be tighter, sometimes you're supposed to be looser. But if they're going to give us, like, one was 27%, one was 28%, overall 1% more range is negligible.
Mhm.
So I'm not really going to get caught up on all of the, like, like, even though A7's a fold here, Ace 8, I'm not folding any of the suited aces in population to a cutoff bet. I'm three betting all of them.
And that may be a very, very good exploit based on how they play. And to answer your question of where I am in my poker learning journey, and you'll understand this very much, Joey, as so will at least two other people on this call. I'm at the autistic part.
Oh yeah, I'm autistic, so I was stuck in that part for a long
Yeah,
time.
that's where I am, and I'm enjoying it.
Mm.
So there we go. And I am probably not on the spectrum. I haven't been tested, but as I've said before, you can certainly see it from here.
I'm not
Okay,
crazy. My mother had me tested.
exactly, exactly. Okay, so he three bets, that's great, and the king four should just fold. This is a pure fold from the king four. This is so far out of both chart and good play.
I mean, it would be a better four bet bluff.
Yeah, we'll see if it has any four bet bluffs, but yeah, but I will show it to you so that you can reinforce it both by my voice and also for those of you who are visual learners, allow me to show you the king four, I mean, all the way up to king nine. And there's Larry's point that it's a better bluff than it is a call.
Yeah, poker coaching likes to use that range a little bit more than GTO Wizard.
Yeah, but they don't call with it, right?
No, it's only a four bet bluff.
Right. So this is egregious, and bad play leads
And
to
and
big
can I
odds.
just say that is because of calls like this, making your three bet range wider is profitable because they call with too many hands that they cannot defend their range post flop.
Right.
Obviously, on this flop, he's going to be able to defend this hand.
Right. But he doesn't want to. So that also adds to your argument. And when they do defend, they might be dominated because they're calling with easily dominated hands.
Yeah, he could easily have king seven here and a seven flops.
Yeah.
And not realize he's putting all the money in that bad.
Right. He's, I mean, looking at it, just to say this out loud in his thing, if he hits a king, he can't be happy. Now, granted, he has the best hand if he hits a king. If he hits a four, he can't be happy. And if he hits a flush, he might not be happy. What else? Tell me anything about this hand that isn't a king, a four, and a flush draw. There we go. And bet big.
Interesting.
Did we just become marginally made?
I think there's a lot of checks here.
Against against his calling range, I think we just became marginally made, and we should check.
Yeah, I think there's a check.
Yeah,
Love this
I'm
guy.
not against checking. That's cool.
I love Villain 32.
Especially because you can call any bet.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, you can call any bet. And he, with a flush draw and a straight draw, I think he should strongly consider betting against the ace because he loses to the ace king range of this guy. He loses to all of the offsuit world, and he can maybe get it to fold, and it's going to be hard.
He's got well, he has an out to the five.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Oh, yeah, he has a real out to the five, but he should see himself as having spades and a five.
Yeah,
And
I think I would bet aggressively here.
this seems like a good bet.
Oh God.
All right. Goodbye, 79 big blinds. And let's see what order he loses it in.
Now, one question here. So this is horrible sizing, I think. One question here.
Bet small to induce.
It worked.
Go on.
What sizing do this guy's like, oh my God, what did I do? What
Yeah.
sizing do you use out of position when the flush comes in? After it goes check, check. Now, I can understand here. I can understand the BSTI, which is not really a BSTI, it's just a blocker because he thinks he's capped, right? So he's trying to get a call from like tens.
Yeah.
But I think you have to bet bigger.
However, I
In
want
general,
to correct one thing you said. Oh, Joey, you go on.
there is a heuristic. When the turn goes check, check, and the board changes, the out of position player has overbets.
Okay.
Now, if he overbet this, do the kings ever just call? The king, like, let's say he bets. Well, his overbet is almost full. Is going to be full pot. I mean,
Yeah, he can almost
yeah.
he can almost shove here.
Yeah. What if you're going to overbet this pot? You should just shove. What's the value of a bet of 60? That's crazy. Everybody who calls 60 calls 80. Yeah.
I mean, he got very lucky here, but
Yeah.
I think that he has to bet bigger here.
The
I think
one
he
thing-
has to target the top of villain's range.
Yeah.
But also something we've mentioned several times here is if you're going to have a blocking bet range, in theory, you want to have some of the nuts protecting that.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
So I'm not going to disagree. If that was his plan,
Yeah.
because that's theoretically sound to have some small bets with our nuts here.
Yeah, true.
And I want to say the same thing with a slightly different language to relate to the language that you said earlier, Larry. You said, I don't really see it as bet small to induce. I see it more as a blocker. And I think those are the same thing. I think it's the same size.
It is the same size, just
Yeah.
I guess a different strategic intention.
Yeah. And clearly for his, he's doing both. He's trying to get better. He's trying to get value from hands that are going to have a hard time calling a bigger bet. And he's betting small to induce. He's doing
Yeah.
both. So yeah. Okay. Great. Do you have this one?
And maybe he's putting on something small.
Yeah.
A marginal made hand, trying to
Right.
just get crying equity.
Yeah. Exactly.
So yeah, we have. Do we want to go back and see if he called? We didn't get to see if he called.
He called. Of course he called. Of course he called.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cooler City. But
Cooler City, except that he shouldn't have been. It's Cooler City, except that it was an easy fold on the flop.
yeah,
Get
he
himself-
should have either four bet bluff or
It was
folded.
an easy fold pre-flop, you mean?
His four bet
yeah,
bluff
pre-flop.
probably
That's
would
what
have worked.
But yeah,
Um,
good chance.
Yeah, I've got it. Do you want me to share the hand now?
Yeah. Let me get out of here. Yep. Yes, did I say on the flop? I meant pre-flop. All right.
All right, Jack 3-2.
And bad Mr. Frosty, I keep missing that that you're posting in chat because I don't look at the chat when I've got chat goes away when I share the screen. So I do it. So if there's something you want to say, feel free to turn your mic on and going on. And dad, Mr. Frosty's gone. So screw that guy. All right.
So
Thanks
you know
for coming
who
back,
that
Mr.
is?
Frosty. We welcome you. No, who is it?
I don't know his real name, but Jonathan recently hired him.
Oh,
He works
great.
for Jonathan.
Oh, great. Cool. All right. Let's see what we got here.
okay, so villain three bet his aces out of position, and in position in this simulation, it's got 5-4 suited down here.
Mhm.
So he's got big bets here, which makes sense on a dryish board.
Well,
And I think Mike was mentioning that before.
I think the 2 has something to do with it. Because Matt Affleck mentioned before, on boards with a 2, nobody typically has any 2s in range.
Yeah, he does mention that. So
So
there's no 2 pair, and in theory there should be no sets. It reduces frequency of sets. So what size did he choose in game?
He
He
went
chose-
third.
He went small, and I wanted to go larger.
So he gets
Yeah, he bet
gets a sliver.
8 and 26.
Oh, wait. I think the flop's wrong.
The
'Cause
flop is Jack 2-3. No, that's right.
But it had a flush draw.
No, it didn't.
on the turn, my friend.
The flush draw comes in on the turn with a 6. 6 of hearts.
Okay, so what is our 5-4? So what are our draws doing? So they're just calling. Got shot calling. No flush available. So, okay. So he just calls, which is right. I think he just called, right?
No.
Yep.
No,
He called. He calls
Can we-
flop.
can you double check the board? I
I'm looking
swear
at
I saw spade.
I'm looking at it. If Jack,
Spade
Jack 2,
draw.
3, diamond, spades, hearts, the 6 of hearts comes on the turn. That's when the flush draw
I'm
comes in.
looking,
That's-
yeah, I'm looking at a
Hold on.
screenshot of it, dude. This is what it was.
Yeah.
Because the flush draw comes here, that's what you're thinking about.
Wait, we're not looking at the same hand.
No, we're looking at
the turn
not
was
this
a
hand.
7.
No, we're looking at the earlier hand, Joey. We're looking at the ace hand that from before where we said, yes, we're running this. We're one hand behind.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. Yes.
That's where I'm so screwed up. I'm like, wait, no.
Yep.
Do we
Now we're
want to
good.
take a second, just have you go through the action, Scotty?
Yeah, I'll join it. I'll put it up for a
Yeah,
second.
it's too
I'll
far
do the hand.
removed. I forgot the hand.
Okay, here we go. Let me go to
That's
Zoom.
why I'm fighting so much about it. I'm like, wait,
Right,
no, that didn't
okay.
happen.
Here is our entertaining hand that
Oh,
we have.
okay.
This is the king 8 raise, the 5-4 calls, the aces get it, and the 5-4 calls here. And we can't simulate this, but this is very similar to 4-5 raises, aces, 3 bets, and 4-5 calls. He gets this, bet small, call. The question was, do you raise your straight here and do a bet of this size? I think you can. He does the click back, and he loses all his money in that order. So it's that hand.
Okay, so now we're
Okay.
getting to the crux of this
All right, stop
hand
share.
here.
So,
Well, I think-
Larry, can you go back and just show me the flop again? Because I really was misunderstanding what hand we're looking at.
Okay, can you see it?
Yep.
Yeah.
So aces
Alright.
do more checking than I would expect.
What kind of equity do our other pairs here?
I gotta ask one thing. I thought we would set this up with the raise and a call from the button and then a 3-bet. I don't know if
Oh,
that,
Let's do that too. That's good
because
too.
that's
I
gonna
like that.
affect, yeah, the cold calling range of the,
Oh, I like that a lot. Yeah.
That's smart. That's a good idea.
Oh, but I think we're not gonna be able to solve post flop. I think that's why we're not doing this.
No, we will,
you
because
can,
it's heads
you
up.
no,
can.
because there's a fold.
Because
Oh, okay.
hijack folds,
Okay, great.
and it is in
Um,
there.
And the button does a little bit of folding his 5-4, but lots of calling.
Hold on, I'm getting, are you guys, can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, so his 5-4 stays in actually.
especially since the three bet was actually small.
The exploitatively small aces.
The only thing that changes a little is the SPR, but it's only a little bit off.
Yeah, this is good.
Okay, that changes our strat.
Yeah.
Now, and this is because of SPR, like you mentioned, I would imagine. Let's just see if we have the same equity. A little bit less against this range for some reason. Yeah, so now he bet small, right? There's more small betting here.
Yeah, I
You bet a
still love
third.
50%.
So what does our our straight draw is always calling. Same as before. Now the question, the 6 of hearts. This is the question we had. So 6 of heart come. The other question is, does the aces begin to shut down? Well, shut down a little bit. They're a little bit more conservative now. All of our pairs are. Interesting here is that our jacks are entirely checking. What's our equity with our jacks? We still have 90% equity, but we're just like, I guess the jacks are like here are like, we don't really benefit from fold equity. We still 22% to boat up. We're just gonna check. And because I would imagine this is
Actually-
also a factor of SPR being like 1.3.
And connectivity could be a big part too. Because
What, the
when you're
lack of
holding
connectivity or what part of
the
connectivity?
lack of connectivity for the button when you have pocket jacks.
Yeah, it's just, I guess I think the real factor is we don't really benefit from a fold as much as we do with overpairs here. So, in game, what size did he use? Remind
He
us, was it a,
bet 75%.
When
He
we
bet
do
75% of pot.
when we do have overpairs, he can have top pair.
Yeah.
okay, so 75% is not a thing at this SPR, so we're gonna give him a 50%.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Now this is the question. Mixes. We can do it.
Mix, great.
Um,
The
not
hearts
with
never
hearts.
does it.
yeah, our flush draw is not, so his hand is not doing it.
Right.
His hands have so much, let's compare the equity. Not that much
That's-
more.
Yeah.
But
I
it's,
mean,
it's not
even
the
this
equity
rate is
difference. It's that there's no bad card.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess doesn't really have any offsuit. Does he have that many case ace of hearts? I'm not sure. Let's look at the range. Yeah, he's gonna have some. So yeah, so he does get he's not supposed to make this play with his hand.
Yep. But does it with a 5-6 with some fives, with some 4-5. So he does it.
Yeah,
And now what do the aces do?
yeah. So what's he do with his flush draws? So let's look at this. So where do his raises come from? So his shoves come from here. And so he's got like his flush shove here with the combo draw. King
why
queen, kind of a
do you have another filter on? Because aces aren't anywhere in this range.
we're looking at looking at imposition.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Where do his bluffs come from? And then we'll hand it back. So his bluffs come from like king, queen of hearts, blocking kings and queens, I guess. King, queen of diamonds. Good luck finding that. Ace five diamonds. I can get behind the king, queen of hearts. I can understand that one.
Yeah, that one makes sense.
I can get behind the ace five hearts. That makes sense. But then ace three hearts has so much equity. It's got
No,
50% equity. It's kind of mixing. And then we
does
get
it
up
have
to our
50?
value, which
Does it
is,
have 50? Because it's
sorry?
below. How much equity does it have?
It has 45%. It has an overcard,
Oh, okay.
a gut shot, and a flush draw. And then our value straights are mixing right here. And then our hand, which we just happen to have the best hand of the deck that gets here, we are never raising. It just has too much equity.
And so when we raise, the raise size is all jam.
Yeah, we just shove it.
Okay. So
We don't get any other sizing.
therefore we don't know what the aces are supposed to do if they ever get away from it. Okay.
Well, we can see what they do to a shove.
They
They're
lose
supposed to,
order.
yeah. But I would argue that in reality, against human beings, we really need to
Well, what's the EV?
understand what we can do here. We really need to understand the value of our hand is
0.02, Joey.
No, that
gone
was
down.
Oh,
that wasn't
sorry.
EV.
Oh, sorry.
That was
17.
percentage.
Yeah, I mean, so this is winning 11 trips. I mean, this is like, it's incredibly valuable to call, but you've got to have someone who's finding ace five of diamonds as a bluff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And humans don't find those. So
Or
this
or
is a fortune reversal, right?
would they have king? What was it? King Jack of diamonds or something like that?
Uh,
There was
what
another
for their
diamond.
bluffs?
There was another diamond combination in the bluffs that I don't think population is finding.
King, queen of diamonds.
King Queen of diamonds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
you're gonna find king, queen of diamonds there.
yeah. So, I mean, in theory, I think if you take away any portion of villain bluffs, all of a sudden this would become a fold, right? All of a sudden the aces would become a fold. It wouldn't take a lot of uh bluff combos disappearing before this became a negative EV call.
Yeah. Okay, so we're
I'm
gonna
really
do.
shocked that jacks with the jacks.
Oh
What
no, they
they
didn't
do.
fold. The jacks they had already jammed. That's what your jacks weren't there anymore. Your set had already. You didn't fold your set. You
Hmm.
didn't have it anymore. I think. Is that right? Anyway, um, hello, are we still here?
Yep.
Yeah, still here.
Good. Okay, great. So we're gonna have to. I'm gonna have to end early. If you guys want to go on, I'll just make one of you the leader of the Zoom room. But since we like to end on one of my hands, why don't we end on me losing a bunch of money on this hand? We don't have time to analyze it, but let's just watch me play wrong. King Jack this early can 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He can raise this, but it's a low percentage raise this early, mostly a fold. He folds, raise the ace nine, got to raise the ace nine. Get 3-bet. I ace 10 suited, I think calls ace 9 suited, probably does some folding.
I think you're supposed to call on button against, in
Yeah.
theory, what is supposed to be a polarized big blind 3-bet range.
So we just raised the button here. Here was our little lovely raise of the button with our
And
ace nine.
this is a small raise too.
I know, yeah. Yep, and that's going to cause me to lose more
Yeah,
money.
we're
So
gonna have a very wide calling range here.
never fold, never fold. There we go. And this makes it even easier to call. And we get this, and this is just a fold. I have an overcard, a backdoor flush, and a backdoor straight, and he bets half pot. I'm supposed to call with this to things like 1/3 pot bets, not half pot bets, right?
Um,
Somebody correct me on my poker. I bet this. I mean, in the old days, I just folded this all the time. I have nothing, and then I learned from Louis Philippe and those evil bastards that you have to defend more. But that's against small bets, not against this. Or am I wrong?
I think your thinking is right, but I almost wonder if you do need to defend this in, solver land. I don't
Well,
know.
I might.
if you're going to defend this, you have to raise.
Okay.
And like you can't I don't think you could just flat call this.
What do you mean? Look at that. There's a big C button. You just hit the C button.
And against population whose 3-bet range is going to be a bit tighter, which means when they see bet it's going to be a little more value heavy than the solver. You want to bluff with things like this less often.
Right. So you want to fold them more often.
Yes.
But wait, it gets worse. All right, you have ace king, or you have a hand like ace king or king queen. I can get you to fold.
Oh no.
That 7 is good for my range. I called. I can have second pair when I call. I raise some of my 10s, but I call all my 7s. This story makes complete sense.
yeah, you're indifferent on flop and silver.
No, it gets worse. We're not done. We're not done. And with that, I will turn the Zoom over to Larry.
I think well,
Oh, do
it's
you want to be
not the
done?
same if you're not officiating.
All right. See you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow our plan is we're going to look at 100 mic hands tomorrow. And if anybody else wants us to look at 100 hands, just jump up and sit, and we'll do that next Tuesday.
So tomorrow we skewer Mike's play in detail.
Exactly. And we take less time per hand, so we're going to try to get through 100 hands tomorrow.
Sounds like a good plan.
I'm going
Great.
to have extra caffeine to be ready for this.
All right. And I will
You need it.
and I will be there with you guys, but I'll probably be bugging out a little bit early. But the room will stay open and all like that. All right.
Okay.
All right, guys. Talk to you tomorrow.
Stop share. See y'all tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.